covering the Utes better than anyone else. This is Ute Insider Steve Bartle of KSLSports.com on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Man, Steve, you were on top of this thing from the jump. Alex Jensen, the new hire at the University of Utah, and you were out there at the presser. Now, this is an incredible hire, brother. How were they handling this thing at the presser?
It was a pretty sweet setup they had for the press conference. Obviously, leaning into his return to the university and kind of the home sweet home kind of vibes. It was pretty cool. So they had shirts available for fans that attended the press conference, and you could tell that this just means a lot to obviously fans, but more importantly the people that are going to be around him on a day-to-day basis. And it was a pretty significant move to make. Obviously, when you decide to fire a coach, when they did with, few games remaining left in the season, you open yourself up to a lot of criticism, and a lot of it is valid and warranted. But to bring home somebody like Alex Jensen, who, the majority of this fan base remembers quite fondly in terms of the glory days under Rick Majerus and the success that they had during his time up on the hill, and watching him develop over the years as a coach in the NBA. This is the sort of move that Utah had to make in order to validate their decision to move on from Craig Smith. So they got it done, and we'll continue to see the fruits of this decision bear out over the course of time. But Alex Jensen is absolutely the right guy. There's obviously there's a lot of nostalgia around the hire, but the more you talk to people about Alex Jensen, the coach, the more excited fans should get, because he's everybody that talks about him raves about his ability as a coach, and I think he's the right guy to lead Utah into the future.
How important is this hire for Mark Harlan in a couple of different lights? Number one, for it to be successful, and number two, just this hire, bringing in a name like Alex Jensen, being able to get the deal done, and being able to kind of reclaim and build on, as you mentioned, something that was really difficult to go through with Craig Smith.
Yeah, I think you kind of used a good word there, reclaim. Some of the reclaim some positivity around the program. I think with what's gone on over the last couple of years with the football program and the basketball program not having a lot of success, the fan base has grown frustrated and exhausted, even would be a word that I would use. It's just been one thing after another. So for Mark Harlan to have made the decision to move on from Craig, like I said, this was the move that they had to make. It had to be something of this nature, bringing in somebody like Alex Jensen, somebody with a great, resume, but to have that connection with the fan base again, to reinstill that connection with the fans, I think was important. And so now, this is only getting to the starting line for Utah. And as I've talked to people, that's the mindset, is this is only the beginning of the work that has to go into rebuilding Utah basketball into what it was, 20, 25 years ago under Rick Majerus. That's kind of the feeling that I've gotten, is that, this is a huge step for Utah basketball in hopefully turning things around with the program. But this is only the first step. And from here, it's got to continue to parlay into, increased fan, attendance and success on the floor, and just carrying this momentum and riding this wave of momentum forward into the future. Obviously, with there's a lot going on, with the university itself, in terms of plans for the future with campus and, the new arena. And this, again, bringing Jensen back home is key to kind of kickstarting all of this, into the future with the Huntsman Center, the relocation, and building a new arena. This was the first step to all that. And so this was a must win for Harlan. This was something he had to do, and to go about it in the manner that he did. I thought he did. He executed this pretty flawlessly, with hindsight being 2020 and knowing how this all played out. I think he handled this quite well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with it. And I think that Mark Harlan's taken some heat. He's probably felt the heat, but he knows that this is an extinguisher, a lot of that heat. So first things first for Alex Jensen is to secure his roster. And I was sad to see Jake Wallin enter into the transfer portal. I was reading this morning that Jake is one of the top 5 prospects currently in the portal, but I also know that there's some active conversation going on with Jake and the University of Utah. Any chance he returns with what they're putting together with NIL?
Yeah, I do think there's not just a chance, but a fairly decent chance that, a guy like Jake Wallin does end up back at Utah. But as you said, he's currently one of the top guys in the transfer portal, and there's going to be a lot of interest in him. There's going to be even demand for him, particularly within the state. I think that, both BYU and Utah State are interested in potentially adding Jake Wallin to each of their rosters, and so there's going to be competition. But for Utah, I know that Alex Jensen has made it clear that he would like to have Jake Wallin back, that there have been conversations between those two about him being a key part of Jensen's roster and building the foundation of Utah basketball. So, there's going to be more, and we saw Hunter Erickson enter his name into the portal as well. And, I would anticipate that there will be more to come, more transfer portal entries to come for Utah. And I think part of that too is, for a lot of players, with the expected influx of resources and support that Jensen is believed to be receiving, that increase in NIL means that these players probably need to have a pretty firm idea of what their value truly is in the transfer portal market. And so, that's part of all of this as well, is that players, want to know how much they're viewed by others, and to potentially negotiate with Utah to secure their value and their worth. And I think that's the right move. And I think, Jake Wallin in particular, the way that he went about his announcement and the wording, I think he's going about that quite respectfully to Utah, and still maintaining that he's going to participate in postseason play. They're going to play in this new postseason tournament created by Fox and the Crown Basketball Tournament. And I think we'll see a handful of others continue to do that as well. But yeah, for Alex Jensen, communication with the guys on the roster is going to be key over the next few days. And he's had, he's had a few opportunities to meet with them, to talk with them over, Zoom calls as well. And I think he's going to continue to have more and more conversations with these players to hopefully keep them intact at Utah.
Where are things at right now with Alex Jensen and his staff, in particular, Andre Miller?
Yeah, that was, I think, a key that we wanted to hear from Alex. I've heard some things that, Jensen has the desire to bring some NBA influence to his staff, to add pieces to his staff that come from, NBA backgrounds. But at the same time, I thought it was interesting to hear him talk about recruiting and his lack of, I guess, understanding of where recruiting is at the college level right now, in the college landscape. And I think that was that sort of honesty was refreshing to hear. And I think he understands that, he's going to need staff members that have those relationships, that are known as recruiters. And so there's going to be a mixture, and, based on what I've heard, of, guys that come with him with NBA pedigree, but then also, that there's going to be a need for guys that have recruiting backgrounds as well. So, all in all, I think Jensen is going to take his time. He's not going to rush into anything. And for Utah fans, I think everybody is kind of waiting on, what's next. And I think what is next for Utah basketball in terms of the staff, all eyes are on Andre Miller and what's going to happen there. And, Andre is currently the head coach of the Grand Rapids Gold, I think is their name in the G League. And, they've, just like Jensen, who's going to finish out the season with the Dallas Mavericks, Miller is also going to finish out, his time with that G League team. And so, but I anticipate Andre Miller being a part of the staff based on everything that I've heard. Now, it's not done. It's, things aren't finished. I'm not reporting that it's done or anything like that, but based on everything that I've gathered, I would be floored if Andre is not part of Alex's staff.
Talking with Steve Bartle, Utah Insider, does a fantastic job at KSLSports.com. He's got a write-up that just posted at KSLSports.com, kind of a preview of Utah spring ball that's going to be kicking off. And just one or two questions for you in regards to Utah spring ball. Mm-hmm. It's really crazy for me to crack open the roster and look at the running back room and not see Mekhi Bernard and not see two or three names that I'm familiar with. Okay. Tell Utah fans that are so used to having a all-conference running back and even a top 25 national leader at times, tell them what to expect in this running back room coming into spring ball.
Yeah, this is a totally new room from what Utah's had over the last few years. There's always been somebody from the previous roster for, gosh, who knows how long. But this is a completely new room for Utah. And key to all of that is Wayshawn Parker, who transferred to Utah from Washington State. He was regarded as a top 2 or 3 running back transfer portal prospect, during the winter cycle. He obviously followed Mark Atuwaya from Washington State to Utah, and that was key to Parker's decision in coming to Utah. Obviously, that familiarity and relationship there. As a true freshman last year at Washington State, he ran for about 750 yards and 4 touchdowns. And I think he's primed for, a bigger workload and perhaps even greater success running behind this Utah offensive line, which is, obviously it struggled the last 2 seasons with the quarterback play and the amount of pressure and the loaded boxes that they've had to go up against. But I think this offensive line is a significant upgrade for him in terms of what he's running behind compared to Washington State. So be excited about Wayshawn Parker, but I think there should be a lot of optimism around Naquari Rogers, who comes to Utah from New Mexico, obviously following Devin Dampier and Jason Beck. And the more I watch him, the more I appreciate his game. He's not a physical bruiser like a Zach Moss or a Tavion Thomas, but he runs tough, and he's going to slip out of tackles. He's going to fight through tackles. I think he's a great complement to Wayshawn Parker. And then they've got a couple other, Devin Green and Daniel Bray. Daniel Bray is a dynamic athlete, track athlete type of player. And so, we'll get a better feel for what that running back room is going to be. But I'm really excited about that group in this offense behind that offensive line. I think it's really a match made in heaven for that running back room.
Well, Steve, we're going to have to get you on again soon because we got to get into the quarterback room. And you know what? Yeah. Really quick, can you just give me what the relationship is with Isaac Wilson as he entered the portal and ended up kind of rotating back into Utah's program? The relationship there, and is he kind of listed as the current number 2, or is that Nate Johnson? Like, what is the hierarchy behind Devin Dampier?
Yeah, Isaac Wilson. Obviously, this past season it was a difficult one for Isaac and all that. And I think Utah kind of understood where Isaac was coming from in his decision to enter the transfer portal. It was made clear to me that when he entered the portal that, he had an open door to return. So they had a good understanding, and I think his return within this offense, I think, is significant, and he should be viewed as the number 2 right now. I know that there's also the possibility that he could redshirt this year to preserve a year and gain the year back that he lost this past season, which was supposed to be his redshirt season. So we'll see what happens with Isaac. But I think, there's room for potential with Isaac in this offense in terms of, he's not the same athlete as Devin Dampier, but he can certainly throw the ball pretty effectively within this offense. And I'm excited to see how that marries together with Isaac and this offense to see, what he truly looks like. But in terms of the relationship, with Isaac and the football program, I think things are good. And I think they had a good understanding of, why he elected to enter the portal and ultimately come back.
Steve, thanks so much for all you do, brother. Appreciate you taking some time with us today.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on, Hans.